let's start with a clean slate. Because I'm only one person, I have to have multiple email addresses all coming to me. So all the email addresses that we see will be le.cement plus some text over here. But this represents Bob, PO owner. So the Bob owner, which is he's a business owner, as we identified, of transactions. So his purposes, his role basically is creating. He's a user, either an owner, like his name suggests, or a requester, and he will generally be living inside of this area, which he's not going to be living in the approval area. He's more or less looking at or creating new requisitions, okay? POs or, and we'll get to this a little bit later, reviewing, perhaps approving requests that were placed on his behalf. Sorry. So if LE Cement went in, let's say in this situation, and created a new PO on behalf of Bob, PO owner, he would have to approve that because it wasn't self-signed. It wasn't created by him himself. It was created by LE. So therefore, Bob has to approve that, and that's one of the rules that we've built in. But let's go through the basic editor, which I think we can go through pretty quickly. So create PO requisitions. Here's Bob, PO owner, coming in. The first thing you notice is the vendor. It defaults to a new vendor, which is just a helpful, helpful by the application. But you can select any vendor in your list of vendors in this drop down right here, which again is controlled by a safe search of sorts. So we have full control over this list. And for demo purposes, again, because we're dealing with BTX rules, I want to try to stick to one of these two vendors, but I'll just select one, and you notice that it pulls the vendor address. Notice the shipping address came fed straight from the subsidiary record. So the subsidiary has a shipping address on that record. That is the value that's placed in here, and can be updated if necessary. It won't update the subsidiary, but it'll save on this PO. Okay. The terms also, I don't know if you noticed while I was flipping back and forth between vendors, but terms are sourced from the vendor as well. The date is defaulted to today's date, the 14th, right? Board approved. So this is going to be the primary qualifier for what drives the rules. Like we saw, I'm just going to flip. Tell me if I'm flipping too much, but I'm going to flip back here for a second just to show you the rule list again. All these rules apply specifically to whether it was board approved. Anything in this, for this subsidiary of BTX, anything that's non-board approved will be subject to obviously different rules, and that's all specified here. A shorter or a smaller set of rules, I guess, because of that big paragraph we had over here. But basically, that's the primary qualifier. That's this field right here, whether or not it's board approved. Requester is defaulted to the current logged on user, which you see up here, Bob, PO owner, and the owner is left open to selection, which I have the option to select myself. I could select others if I am requesting on behalf of others. Capital expenditure, straightforward. Files, you can upload a file and save it. It'll save to the transaction. I'm going to leave the item. If you notice, I selected an item from the drop-down. The first item that was here before I selected anything was new item, which is if you do have a new item to save on this PO, you can type in the new item description here, for finance purposes to enter that item later. You select the department, the class, the GL account, because it's a new item, and you want to put in your quantity, which is, let's just say, I'm just going to try to get it over 10,000 actually. So here's my new item, and I can actually select an existing item. Again, this list will be obviously more pertinent to your environment once we're in your environment. And I do not need to select the GL if it's an existing item. I I can add a memo. We said to leave the memo over here. I can add a memo and save. The application saves the transaction. It immediately, even though it's still in a pending status, which I'll show you over here, it's not yet submitted for approval, it immediately understands what kind of approval, it predicts what kind of approval it will require based on, again, the totals, based on the subsidiary, based on the board approved flag. All that information goes into saying, hey, this is a board approved budget to expense. And if I look over here, let me just flip back for a second. I don't want to make anyone dizzy, but here's between 10,001 and 50,099. It's going to have this requirement of one authorized signer and someone from the executive management team. So that's the basic editing and saving a record through this editor that you see in front of you.